Today we welcome Randhir Jaiswal, Consul General of India in Johannesburg, to discuss Africa's relationship with India. Randhir, welcome to GIBS.
Thank you.
India and South Africa and Africa have a long-standing relationship, but only over the last decade or so have we seen trade increase significantly. What's been the main driver?
Well, I would say it's the political relationship itself which has been one of the major drivers, apart from the fact that our economy also picked up in the last decade or so. India liberalized its economy in 1990s, and thereafter, as we moved on, we realized the kind of potential we had as part of the emerging markets, and the growth that we experienced, that went on to translate into a sizable and a significant bilateral trade and economic and investment relationship between India and South Africa.
You're well aware of the recent McKinsey report, which predicts that India's trade with Africa will quadruple by 2025. What are going to be the driving forces, and what sectors is that growth going to come from?
I would say it'll be a two-way trade. On our side, of course, we have the automobile sector, we have the pharmaceuticals, we have the IT. We also need a lot of resources that Africa today can provide. India is a country which is deficient in energy, and we look forward to our energy security calculus. Of course, what Africa has to offer will be of prime importance. We also would like to add to the infrastructure sector in Africa in general. We would also like to build capacities, skill development, education, agriculture. These are, I would say that the kind of promise that we have between our two continents is significant and huge, and we must leverage each other to move towards a better life for all the people on this continent and people in India.
A concern, though, amongst Africans has been that trade towards India has been mainly around resources. What steps are there to broaden that outside of just the resource space?
Resources are going to India, but at the same time, you would see with the change in policies that we are experiencing in countries like South Africa and other parts of Africa, we are also adding a lot to the localization content, be it in diamond, which is again a resource-based industry, and diamond polishing in India is big. But with the changes that have happened in South Africa, we are now establishing laboratories. Indian companies are establishing workshops here where they can do polishing and add value to the manufacturing content in the diamond industry in South Africa itself. Obviously, we also recognize this is a challenge, and value addition locally helps in the overall sustainability of business environment, and being conscious of it, we are looking at as to how we can, through our investment, add value to employment creation, job creation, skill development, transfer of skills, and transfer of technology to our host societies.
Now, when one drives around and looks at the economies in Africa, one sees a lot of Indian businesses. What has been on the opposite end? Have we seen a lot of businesses setting up in India from Africa?
The two-way trade between India and Africa is somewhere in the region of $95 billion and growing exponentially. So it's not that just that our trade is, and we are importing to Africa in general, but Africa's trade to India is also growing significantly. You would see in Africa there are 33 or 34 least developed countries, which happen to be a UN category of the 48 in the world. With these 34 countries, we have special relationship. We have extended duty-free, quota-free, preferential market access. We are doing a lot in terms of development cooperation. So obviously, all these instruments and instrumentalities put together, including the offer of trading that we are doing to countries we have not so far acceded to WTO as to what they can do so as to accede to the World Trade Organization. All these things and measures, once they are put together and they come together to a fruition, obviously our trade, both two ways, will pick up significantly.
The phenomenal growth that a lot of the emerging economies have experienced over the last decade or so, India included, seems to be cooling off quite a bit. Will that impact your relations and trade relations with Africa?
Well, what you're talking about may be true in the short-term perspective. In the last 2-3 years, obviously the emerging economies have taken a hit, and so has India. But the longer-term prospects for India and the emerging markets, they are bright. And for India, I can vouch for the fact that we are going to our economy is going to move up northwards very soon. This year we have done little less than 5, but going into 2014 and beyond, given the fundamentals of strong domestic demand that we have, the fundamentals of sound macroeconomic policies that we have, given the fact that we are committed to moving on the path of reforms, I think Indian growth story is going to roll on, and that will be good for India-Africa story as well.
On that note, this year is significant in that South Africa is having its own elections, as are 20 other African countries. And India is also having its own elections. Will that see a change in policy towards Africa?
Well, both our countries will have new governments in the May of this year. But given the salience of India-Africa relations, which is rooted in history, rooted in our struggle, rooted in our South-South cooperation, the engagement that we have among the developing countries, the kind of ideas and policies that we share belonging to the developing world, I don't see that how we cannot continue on the path of India-Africa relations that we've both decided to move on. So India has summit level relationship with Africa. We had the first India-Africa summit in 2008. The second one was held in 2011 in Addis Ababa, and we'll move forward on this summit level engagement in future as well.
And what are the successes since 2008 with the summit?
Well, we have moved a great distance on trade, investment, creating the right kind of environment. We are adding, obviously, whatever we do in the African continent is in consultation and in close cooperation with the African Union and member countries. We have moved significantly ahead on development cooperation participation. We see that there are significant gaps in Africa on the food security front, on agriculture front, rural development front, on the issue of job creation, on the issue of skill development. These are some of the core challenges that we want to partner Africa with, obviously given your choices and given your preferences. And on all these fronts we have moved significantly ahead. I must here make a mention of the Pan-African e-network that we've established. That is one of our flagship development cooperation platforms between Africa and India, where we've connected centers of excellence in the field of education and health with centers of excellence of education and health in India. And these centers of excellence, they are connected through regional VSAT terminals, where on a daily basis people in hospitals in India and Africa are interacting and bringing the benefits of telemedicine to societies here.
On that note, I'd like to thank you for your time and wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.